So, a few weeks ago, I did a video on spinning dog fur, and you may have seen it. And if not, I will link it at the end of this video. I do not have all of it to show you. I just have this small bit left, which was actually one of my failed attempts. But you can see how it's like thick and thin. This one I had actually blended with Coriadale, and it did not work well. But I did a number of different attempts at spinning it different ways to try and get a really good end result. And in the end, I did have one that I liked over the others that I had blended with merino, but I still was like, something else. Well, okay, backstory. This dog fur was given to me by my cousin, and she put it in these vacuum sealed bags, and it was from every time she would brush the dog. So that's pretty basically carded fleece. And she sent me 13 bags of this, and she still has more at home. So she had asked me if I would spin it for her. She wanted the yarn to make something herself. So the dog is a Samoyed, absolutely beautiful dog. I will put a picture here. And I sent her the different skeins I had done. Each one I had labeled so she would know how I had processed it, and she could tell me which one she liked best. But I took a class this last Saturday, and it was a spinning class. And in this spinning class, I learned a few techniques, and one of which was the best way to spin this short fiber. It is very fine. It is very short. And the only way I have been spinning so far has been short forward draw. I had not learned long draw. I had not learned to spin from the fold or any of that stuff. Well, I learned all that while I was at this class. And using the short fleece, see, and I had in my head, okay, long draw is for long fibers and short draw is for short fibers. No, it's the opposite. Long draw is for short fibers, and the short forward is for your long draw. For your long fibers. And then spinning at the fold is more for your medium to long fibers. So this should be spun long draw. Well, one of the other ladies in our class had some yak, and the yak was short little fluff like this. So I tried it. So this is the yak I spun at the class, and it came out really nice. I was very proud of it, and it was a very little tiny bit that I actually practiced with. And I'm like, I've got to go home and try the dog fur again. So I was super excited. Also, I got into my fleece and fiber source book the other day, which has over 200 more than 200 fibers, most of which are sheep and a few others. I did not realize they actually mention dog and cat in here. I was really surprised. Now, I knew that Samoyed was one that people would spin. I knew that Great Pyrenees is another one that I know is spun quite often. And I have a friend who has a Great Pyrenees, so she spins that, and she's done some absolutely beautiful yarn and beautiful textiles with that from her Great Pyrenees, some of which she has spun on its own, and some she has blended. And the one I'm doing is the Samoyed. Well, I look in here, and they mention that in the text. A little tiny thing like, oh, you can do this and you can do that. But the fibers that they actually have pictures of are other breeds. They show a corgi, a nice dog, Akbash, border collie, Belgian Tervuren, and they said that a lot of these are sheepdogs. And so they were ones that the authors of this book had access to, because like I said, most of this is sheep, so they had access to these ones. And you can see some nice fluff there, and then they spun it, and some pieces they've woven, so you can see that end textile. And then you get to this page, and they show wolf hybrid, and cat. And I had been saving a little bit of my cat's fur when I would brush her, because I do these ag days with kids, and I have this big board with all these different things. Every now and then I get a new fiber, and I'll put little bits up there. So I wanted a little tiny bit that I could spin and put up there, because kids would get a kick out of spinning dog and cat. So I had this little bit I stuck up there, and it was the hardest thing I had spun. Now that I know I should have been spinning it long draw, it might have been a little bit easier. Though I threw away the rest of the fleece because I'm like, I'm not doing this again. But you can actually see the cat fiber they got a really fine spin on it. So wolf I knew was one. I actually have a little bit of a wolf fleece on that board. But I did not actually try to spin it. I just put that one up there. So anyway, if you do happen to have the Fleece and Fiber source book, there is information. There's 2 pages on dog, cat, and wolf. And there's lots and lots of other stuff in here. It's a very, very good book to have. They do have a smaller one that's the field guide. It does not have as much information as this, though. This gives you more information on the animal, the fiber, the yarn, using it as a textile. So it is a really good book to have. So anyway, information there and some knowledge that I had from the spinning class. And I decided that we need to try long draw. And it's actually working. So I'm going to show you guys how I've done this long draw and how this works, so you can see. And then we're going to finish this skein, so we can see this end skein and how it looks and everything. So I'm super excited about trying this and sending my cousin another skein that she can look at and think about. And if you're interested in how all this gets, all the rest of the processing goes and everything else, again, there will be a link to that video at the end, and it will have more information than I'm giving you here. So we're going to spin some dog fur. Okay, so these are in clumps from each time that she would brush the dog. I tried to spin it without fluffing it or anything. That didn't quite work, which in the other video, that was one of the ways I preferred more, was leaving it like this. So what I'm doing is actually taking this clump, and I'm just pulling it apart a little bit. I'm fluffing it so that it's more cloud-like, and just loosening it so the fibers can move a little bit more freely. Now this is not washed, but it is clean, because again, this was her brushing it off of the dog. So basically it's like being carded straight from the dog. Okay, so now I got a big cloud. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of it to start with. I don't want to have too much. And I've already started this. So I'm just going to take this end I have here, and I'm going to fluff it a little bit. I'm going to lay it over what I'm working. And I'm going to start spinning. And this is going to grab, and then I'm going to just pull, and as long as I have this pinched, then I shouldn't break. So I'm going to slowly pull stuff back from this. I'm going to keep pulling, and it's going to keep spinning, and I'm just releasing the pressure on these front fingers as I'm pulling back. And you can see, before I let this go, you can see this is actually pretty consistent. Now I've got one little fluff here, which actually if I take and rub that a little bit with my fingers, it's one of my little tricks I like to do, is just give it a little rub, and it kind of, in a sense, almost slightly felts that in. So now that's even more consistent looking. So that's actually a pretty nice consistent piece here. And it's not going past there where my fingers are pinching it right now. So I'm going to let this go again, and it's going to wind on. So now I'm going to bring my fingers back here and just keep releasing them a little bit as I'm pulling this fluff back. And if I start to get too much, then I can stop because I'm of the where I'm releasing here. And if I don't have enough, I can also fix that. So I shouldn't actually have it break. And you can see I'm not pumping my foot super hard. So I did this on one smaller. I usually always spin on the big one just because I'm a nervous spinner and I'm always afraid of putting too much twist in something. But this, we want a lot of twist. So I put it on the one smaller. On my bobbin itself, I have it on the smaller end because there's the larger end here and there's a smaller end. So I have it on the smaller one here. I have it on the medium one here. And if we do a ply back test, there's how our ply back test looks. I mean, that is actually looking really nice and consistent. I'm going to keep spinning this with the long draw, and we are going to see how this comes out when we're done and we've got it actually plied too. So I'm really excited about this. And it's not as hard as I thought it would be too. If I start to feel like it's too thin in my fingers, I immediately pinch down so that I don't take the chance of breaking it, so I can make sure that I had enough there. This is the second bobbin, and I weighed out the bobbin empty and full from the last one I spun because I didn't completely fill the bobbin, and I wanted to make sure I had about the same amount of fleece. And on this one, I think I might have almost fluffed it a little bit too much. So there's some parts that I got really, really thin, and I didn't mean to get that thin. The other thing I've been doing, because with this long draw and having it all right out in front of me and seeing what I'm doing, sometimes if I get to a really thick spot, I'll hold it there for a second right before the orifice and give that thick spot a little extra twist, because your thin spots twist more than your thick spots. So if you put it right in front of the orifice and hold it for a second, you can get that thicker spot to spin down a little bit more and not be quite as noticeable. But I have a feeling I'm going to have more yardage on this one because I did have some spots that I got a bit thinner. This is a lot more enjoyable doing it this way too. So you can see I have a big spot there. So if I hold it right before the orifice, see, it spins down tighter. So something else I learned at this class I took, it was the importance of letting your bobbins rest. Something I did not fully understand before. You know, I heard of people doing that and I'm like, okay, I don't get why. I want to ply my stuff right now. And my teacher was Robin from Sincere Sheep. So if you happen to know Sincere Sheep, she's a natural yarn dyer. And these bobbins look so different. But she explained it in a really good way. She said, and as soon as she started to say it, I knew immediately what she meant. She says, well, when you curl your hair, and I was like, if I put curlers in my hair right now and I take them right back out, I'm going to have no curl. If I let those curlers sit in my hair overnight and then take the curlers out, I'm going to have all kinds of curls in my hair. And it's the same thing with your singles, and you let it sit on the bobbin all twisted up, and it helps to hold that twist before you ply it and start untwisting it to ply it. I was like, it makes so much sense now. So we're going to let these sit overnight before we ply them. So these are my two singles. Both have 20 grams of fiber on them. They look very different. So we'll see how close we get when we ply them tomorrow. But you can see that already how much more consistent this is compared to that. There's a big difference there. So I'm really excited to see how these ply up tomorrow. So I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. I let my singles sit all night and they are ready to ply. So I'm just having myself a little bit of tea. And we're going to start plying this dog fur up. So I put my drive band back on the larger whirl and loosened my tension because I don't want to put too much twist into the plied yarn. And I'm watching the yarn as I'm doing it to see how much twist I have in it before I let it go into the bobbin, because I don't want too much twist, but I definitely don't want not enough twist because of how short this fiber is. So I'm watching it closely, and I have to remember to move my hook. We're getting a nice balanced yarn. At least it looks like we're getting a nice balanced yarn. So we'll see how this comes out. Still a little bit of lump and bump, but you know, it is hand spun, so you're going to get some of that anyway. I was just working with some wool that was actually done in a mill, and I was still getting some lump and bump. So a little bit here and there, considering it's hand spun and it's a difficult fiber, not too bad. And this is proof that just because you weighed out your yarn does not mean that it is going to come out equal when you're plying. So I have that much left, and that was the second one. That was the one that I actually did weigh out. So here is our completed bobbin of yarn. Okay, so I have a 2-yard niddy noddy. So counting that up, I have about 44 yards that I just spun. And there is the finished yarn. I think it came out really, really nice. It's a really nice consistency. I mean, there, like I said, there's a few lumps and bumps that happens. And let's see, on average, I think I got, I always hate reading these things because I'm like, okay, which one am I reading it on? I'm going to say I got about a worsted to an Aran weight. There you go. So that came out really, really nice. So like I said, this has not been washed yet. So it's still, in a sense, a dirty fleece, but since there's no lanolin, I'm not spinning in the grease or anything. And the way this came off of the dog, it's already basically carded, so I'm spinning from the cloud. And if I went through the process of washing all this ahead of time, you would have probably had some more matting, because remember, super short fibers, and you definitely would have had to go through all the carding and everything else so that you would be at that spot for spinning. So spinning it first, much easier. And that's what had been recommended to me. So I'm actually going to, when I set the twist, I'm going to actually be washing it at that point. So I'm going to take you through my process for washing / setting the twist, thwacking, letting it dry, and then hopefully it should be warm enough today. Hopefully by the end of today it'll be dry and I can show you how it looks once all of that's done. So stick around. So I have filled, or not filled, it's only to here, of hot water because I don't have that much yarn I'm doing, but I've used straight hot water from my tap, which my tap water gets really hot. You do not technically have to do it that hot. You're not breaking down any lanolin. That's just what I did, and because I do that, since that is very hot, I use these gloves that are like a heat resistant glove. They're not that expensive. I got them at Harbor Freight. And you don't want to put your soap in here before you put your water, or you're going to have this full of suds. So you want to do that after. There's all kinds of wool washes like Soak, the Eucalyptus, which actually has a bit of lanolin in it, Unicorn Baby. There's all these different ones, but if you're doing dog fur, there's a possibility you might not have all that kind of stuff. So regular Dawn dish soap will work just fine. So I'll show you with the regular stuff. So I just squirted a little bit of that in there, and then I'm going to move it around so that's blended into the water. And then we're going to open up our skeins. Just going to drop them right into there. And I did finish off that extra little bit. I wrist plied it. I got another 2 yards out of that. So I'm just going to put that there. I'm going to gently push this down into the water so everything is wet. Yeah, you don't want in there, cat. It's too hot. And we're just going to let that set for 15 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the next step. Okay, this is set for 15 minutes. It's still nice and warm, but I can actually touch it. So we are going to just grab a hold of that so we can pour out the water. I'm going to gently squeeze the excess out. Pour the rest of that out and get some more. It's a little warm, but it's not too bad. Okay, so we're going to rinse it. So you can either just rinse it like that, or if you want your fleece to be just a little bit softer, you can put just a little bit of conditioner into your water. Mix that in the same way we did the soap. Ooh, that is a little warm. Getting my glove back. That's a little warm. And then we're just going to put this back in because now we're just trying to get that extra soap out. And let it sit right down into there. And we're going to let it sit there for another 15 minutes. Okay, we are going to gently squeeze the water out. No twisting, do not twist it. Get all the water out. And we're going to thwack it. This part is fun, but it always makes me nervous because I always worry about breaking my yarn, but it's important to do. Okay, so there's our nice thwacked yarn. We're going to hang it here with the other fleece I have drying, and we're going to let it dry in the sun, and we'll come back in a few hours and hopefully it'll be done. So it has been just a couple hours. Really, literally, I think it's only been about 2 hours, but I did not check the time earlier. But I just went out and it was all nice and dry, so I brought it in. And so I have my little mini skein and my bigger one. And there is the finished yarn. You can see it's bloomed since it had the twist set in it. So it's got more of a halo on it now, and it really does look a lot like alpaca. I think I showed this in the last video. This was one of my very first spins that I happen to still have sitting here in my drawer. So it's not the best spin. Don't judge me here. This was like 3 years ago. But this one is alpaca next to this. That's the dog fur. So it's got very similar. The twist is not good on this, but anyway. So I highly, highly recommend, if you're going to spin dog fur, this is the method to do. Spin it long draw. Do not wash it first. Spin from the cloud. Wash it afterwards. Thwack it and let it rest. Oh, and let it rest when it's in its singles too. So there we go. And I think with practice, because again, I just learned how to do long draw. So with practice, you could probably get that even more refined. But I think that looks pretty good. So if you like this video, please make sure to click like and subscribe. And if you are planning to do spin dog fur and this has been helpful, let me know. Leave me a comment if you actually do it from my method. Tag me on Instagram or something. I would love to see what people have done. So I hope this is helpful, because I know when I was trying to figure it out, I was searching for videos and everything I found was people who were just experimenting like I was. So I hope this video has been helpful. And I hope you guys all have a great week, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.